Good morning, everybody. It's Phil, the Down Under Maker. How are you all? I've just realized I've still got my laptop speakers on, so bear with me one sec. There we go. Now we won't get any nasty echoes. Petty Ruxpin, the guy who wins everything, and Killer Prince. And Brent. Hi, Brent. Petty and I have got this thing going on where every time he doesn't win, I say it's rigged against him. Every single chat. And Killer, I signed up for the affiliate program. Thank you for giving me the kick up the butt to make sure I got that done. So if you want to buy any Polymaker filament, use my affiliate link. Link's in the description. All that YouTube streamer stuff. So where were we up to with the box turtle? Box turtle, we had just finished doing all of the wiring, and I decided that it was going to be far better for me to do all of the cable management off stream, because who wants to watch that, really? So this is where we are at. There, that's better, right in the middle of the screen. So I've tried to route it so all the stepper motors are cabled out of the way, and everything else, the switches, etc., is wired across the front. There is some of the switches in amongst this bundle because it just made more sense to do it that way. Other thing I did was I connected the turtleneck. So that's all plugged in and ready to go. Whether it has to be unplugged and routed somewhere, I don't know. I haven't got that far in the manual, but at this point in time, I'm planning, until I put the base on this thing, to just simply hook it off the front and run the wires out the bottom just temporarily until we got that sorted. You'll notice that I've got a couple of plugs here all not plugged in. They don't reach. So I'm going to have to make up some extension cords. Not going to do that with you guys because that's just not fair and nobody wants to see that. What I do have is a whole bunch of hookup cable and a whole bunch of GST sockets and plugs sitting in my parts bin. So I'll do that up all nicely. I'll probably even color code the headers here so that everything plugs in and is color coded so I can't make any mistakes. Hi ADD, hi Nick, anybody else who's joined us. Just going over what we've done today. And for those who are eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll notice that I have one of the newer boards where the Type-C plug plugs in this way. It's a little better, but it is still very, very close to the extruder point. So I have some Type-C 90-degree adapters, which hopefully are in this AliExpress pack just behind me here. And we can see that in a minute. Let's get this out of the way for a moment, because I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've developed over the last week or so. I was checking an Aussie Discord server and found that ADD had done a very nice modification to the wiper station, which is a standard part of the box turtle build now. Well, not part of the build, but it's a standard thing on their instruction manual. So that is the wiper station. Something like this. There, that's the way. And it mounts up to the gantry, and then you can wipe on the silicon. It takes this standard A1 silicons, which Cartographer also very nicely include in their pack, so that's all good. I'm still working on my extrusion factors. I can't really see my micro picture, so I'm still working on my extrusion for the first layer. It's still a little bit under extruded, but it is sticking to the bed, so I'm not complaining. Now, ADD's part. This is a poop bin, which relies on exactly the same mount. And ADD, as you can see when I printed it on the beveled edge, worked just nicely. Especially considering I have CPAP, everything just printed absolutely amazingly with all those overhangs. It was just easy. So what I need to do quickly is print the mounts for this part. So I'm going to do a matching set of these to go with it. So let's jump across to Super Slicer for a moment. Hopefully you guys can see Super Slicer, and you can see that I've found a way of overlaying chat. It's a really ghetto way of doing it, but I'm just going to have to put up with that for now. Like the colors you've got going on there. Thank you. Hi, projects. You're installing this on an Ender 5? No, it's going on my Voron. That one. I'm enjoying SuperSlicer 2.7 so far. I've been on it since the very beginning, since Alpha 3. So I've been biting my lip every time people have been bagging it on various Discords and Facebook and stuff, going, where is it? What's going on? It's all dead. Meryl's dead. Everything else is dead. Meryl has been sick, very regularly. He keeps getting COVID and that sort of stuff. So every time we just got a roll on and we're about ready to release, he'd get sick. It just kept dragging out. The original intention was for it to launch on Christmas Day, US time. So it got dragged out due to various illnesses. But what we did manage to do in the meantime is catch an awful lot of the faults and bugs, not faults, bugs, from various things interacting with various other things over time. Steve, who comes into the chat on occasion, he was on that alpha team as well. It was just a really awesome alpha team to work with, very cohesive. Everybody was very much helping each other. Somebody would post a bug. Somebody would then confirm whether they got the bug repeatably or not. And then we'd upload 3MF files so that all of our logs were there. It just made life so much easier. SuperSlice has been 2.5 years. Not technically, there was a beta out for the last 18 months or so. Yeah, but it wasn't ready, and everything kind of fell to the wayside when Meryl really needed to find proper work. And hopefully now he's got all his funding sorted out, that everything should be on a roll. My understanding is, and this is only supposition at this point, 2.7 will go, now it's public beta, will go through a few more weeks of testing and being exposed to the craziness that the public throw at it. If nothing major comes of it, it will then be rolled into the full version. In the meantime, we're starting to see all the new features in our alpha private section, which are new features and rolling in ideas that people have got to bring everything up to date and to give it features that nobody's seen before. So it's not, what we've been doing is playing catch up to make sure that we've got everything that's modern, things like I keep getting told off for calling it tree, organic supports are in there now. It's the moving on to adding new features that we're now working with. So can't tell you anything about that because of course that's all in the private section. So one thing I need to do is get these parts printed. So let's find these parts. Sorry, I have to do this on my window here because I can't see enough on the OBS window. So front arm base, I think that's the, no, might be mount upper and mount lower. I think that's the ones. No. Okay. That's definitely not the part I want. So delete. Do want that part will print that way up, that's fine. And front arm slide, that's that one. Front arm base, that's the one I want, I think. Yes, that's the one. So align the middle of the bed, don't need any supports. Make sure my print head is in the right spot. For those who haven't been here for a while, the XY homing on my printer is currently not reliable, so I'm not using it. I've got the stall guard set to just happen, and that's why I park the tool head in the corner every time, because that means it just works for me. So that's all looking good. Now, one of the things that SuperSlicer has been dealing with is the overhang warnings are a little bit too sensitive at the moment. It's a known issue, it's being worked on. So all those bright blue areas where it's warning about overhangs, even though it's a flat surface like here, it's being worked on. So that all appears to be in place. Printer appears to be ready to go. Upload and print. Make sure it goes through. Hopefully my lights will turn red in a moment. There we go. So just in case you can't see it, a little red glow from the printer so we know it's warming up. And Moonraker bleeped on my watch, so that's all good. So back to hands plus me. Get rid of that. Bring up that. That's what I need. So that's all work in progress. We'll get rid of that all for now. Other things I found in the Super Slicer repos across Thunder Keys and the full one are these ECAS style bypasses. I think that's what they're called on his repo. So you have the box turtle coming in on one, and your normal open spool holder on another, and there's a micro switch which goes in here, which then interacts with the AFC, so it knows to disable the AFC. Oh, Brent, the doggos. Miss Ginger is doing much better. She was very lethargic on Sunday night. So Monday morning, we took her to the vet, and he gave her some steroids, and she was back to normal within 2 hours. Next day, we took her in just for a checkup, and everything was fine. So another quick steroid, and off we go again. Then Wednesday night, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning at our time, she was a bit slow, but not doing too bad. And then we gave her a lamb shank as a treat. So, well, we gave all 3 of the pups a lamb shank. And I think the extra energy and gusto is probably the best way to describe it, that beagles use when they're biting into things. It strained her neck a little bit, which was maybe what was actually sore in the first place. So once we realized that she was sore, contacted the vet. Vet said monitor it and see how she is this morning. And they'd already made an appointment, which we could cancel first thing. She woke up this morning. She's trotting around the house, still a bit stiff, but obviously feeling a lot better. So we're just in a watch and see at the moment. And once the stream is finished, I'm off to the vet to pick up some anti-inflammatories just to help her get through the last little bit of things. What I'm currently seeing on my other screen, so let's jump across to here, is that we need to set up some heat sets. I've already got my heat sets iron set up and ready to go. And the corners. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm only going to do 2 of the windowed corners, so I'm not even going to bother with those. I'm going to put the green corners on for completeness so I can get my serial number. But what I'm probably going to do is just print these as solid corners, so there'll be 2 lit corners and 2 solid corners, and the visible corners obviously be the lit ones, and the ones that you don't normally see will be solid corners. Okay, back to the turtle itself. While you were gone, I hot glued, because I can't find a better way to do it, my existing NeoPixels that I had in stock on a strip into place. The NeoPixels that I've got are on a 12mm wide backing, not a 10mm wide backing, so they didn't fit into the existing slot that's in these corner pieces. So hot glue seemed like the least worst option, rather than having to do an awful lot of CAD to re-engineer things or try and trim the edges off these NeoPixels, which I've tried before and it only ended badly. So what I'm going to do off stream, because it's not part of the actual build process, again, is I'm going to attach some NeoPixel tails. Why is that so zoomed in? There's something weird going on with this. I'm all zoomed in here. No, that's not it. Let's go back to just me for a minute. I'm all zoomed in. Ah, you guys don't want to see that. Will it zoom out? Oh, that's much better. You guys don't need a close-up of me. Okay, so let's have another try on this. Standard NeoPixel tails. that I bought on AliExpress. They're about $3 or $4 US for a pack of 10 of the males, and again, and for another pack of the females. So I've got both males and females all ready to go. And I did a little bit of testing on another piece of the strip that I had lying around. So that's off to the side. Just give me one moment. I've got a tickle in my throat. So I could see your pores. Yeah, they're huge, unfortunately. Decades and decades of working in hot, sweaty environments just means your pores are nasty and icky. So what we need to do is put the heatset inserts into the corners, press in the PETG clear, which just printed like ass, into the corner that we're going to have lit up, and then we'll move on to some whatever the instructions tell us to do next. Let's put this out of the way for a moment though. And I've just noticed that my mouse is going flat. I'm probably not going to have the right cable present. We'll just have to hope and pray that it makes it through. So, for those who don't know, let's go back to me and hands. That's probably better. For those who don't know, these have a breakaway part built into them. And unlike some of the others, it breaks out quite easily. So that's one. I already got the other one broken out. I'll leave those two intact because they'll be spares for later. And the clear PETG is notched at one end so that it just slots up against everything. That one's not very nice feeling. Let's try one of the others. That one feels ugly too. That one looks better. This is how many goes I had at printing these to get them nice, and they're still pretty iffy. I tried printing straight out of the LDO pack. I tried drying it for a couple of days. It just didn't make any difference. It just printed horribly misty and icky. I printed crazy slow. I printed crazy fast. I printed crazy hot and slow like everybody told me to. Made no difference. That was not fitting particularly well either. Okay. I had to do this on the other one. Just the very tip of the dovetail joint, it was just a little bit too long. Pop, go on, pop in. These are very thin, so I'm having to be a bit delicate so I don't break it. 1, 2, 3, and it's in. Okay, so all snapped into place. That one snapped into place much easier the other day. And that should be up to temperature. It certainly looks like it is, and some heat sets. Okay, back to chat. Question for chat, does Octopus 1.1 have the resistor for CAN bus? Can't find it because it's built in ADD. The Pro has a removable jumper from memory, and it's hardwired on that one, and Brent's just confirming that. Got to get going. Wanted to swing by and support. Thanks for the drop-in, Killer. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back when these, back at the inception of these original CAN bus included boards, nobody was really sure what was going to happen or how it was going to be adopted. So mistakes were made, choices were made, and they didn't pan out. The phone jack style interface. I mean, it's used in industry, but it's not really practical for our needs. Time to walk into work. Catch you later, projects. I'll try and drop into your stream next time. Ooh, this green is a bit stinky when it comes to the heat sets. My iron might be a little bit hot, I think. Speaking of heat sets, in the AliExpress pack behind me is a stealth press, mini or micro, whatever the small one is. So once this project's done, that's what I'll be moving on to, is building the stealth press, probably on a shorter stream. PS, get a roll of clear ABS and leave the PETG behind. I'm actually thinking about going the Polysmooth projects. Sorry, I'm just monitoring this because that's that special XY home I do, and everything's back. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on. Oh, doesn't really work. Let's see if I can turn the tracking off. No, down, down, down. That's still tracking for some reason. I've turned tracking off. Oh, well, upper body will do. Back to me. I have decided that I'm going to order another obs bot, but this time I'm going to get the Meet 2. The Meet 2 is the static one, like Steve Builds uses on his streams. That way I can do things like have it monitoring the printer while we're working, or zoom in on the printer while we're working and not change the rest of my setup. Standard upper body, go away. Don't know why it keeps defaulting to the close-up, but anyway, I've had good results with Aurorum Clear ABS. They even do a bunch of different translucent ABS filaments, Blu-ray. I'm going to try the Polysmooth like Zombie Hedgehog had on his stream. I just won a bunch more of the Polymaker spools. Hey, I might even win that big Polypalooza thing that's going on. That'd be awesome. So where are we? Okay, so next we need 4x feet. I've got those. 4x TPU foot. We've got the supplied feet that came in the kit. 4x M5x16. 4x M5 washers. 4x M5 hex nuts. That's a lot of 4x's. Just going to turn that off for a minute. M5 hex nuts. We need 4. 4x feet. Oh, there's the plates. So that's a win. Don't need those. They are M3 washers. ECAS fittings, grub screws, filler matrix. Aha! M5 by 10 by 1. Doesn't say, but I will assume these are the right ones. 4 of these. I've had a whole bunch of stuff come in the last week. Now, what may end up happening for next week's stream, I found out this morning when I dropped my daughter off at school that her Easter holidays start next week, not the week after like everybody was expecting. There was a decidedly huge amount of groans from the parents when the teacher told us that the kids aren't there next week. So I wasn't the only one who wasn't prepared for it. So next week, I'm probably only going to do an hour-long stream just so that she's not left on her own too long. She's 3, about to turn 4, and she's really not ready to be left to her own devices very long. There's my 4 16mm M5s. So all we're missing now is the feet, I think. 4, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yes, the feet. 2, 3. So next week's stream will likely only be an hour, just so that she's not left on her own too long. And what we may do is just a whole bunch of unwrapping new toys and then move back to Box Turtle after school holidays are done. It depends on how things go. If she's all right next week, then is CPAP too loud for you guys? It doesn't seem to be interfering on my mic, but could you guys hear the CPAP? Just waiting for a reply in chat. No, not too loud at all. Can't hear it. Okay, well, that's all good. Yeah, the CPAP is loud enough to wake people on the other side of the house. Obviously, the noise filter, I've got it set just enough to be able to protect us on the stream. So, need to work this out. LEDs are on these corners. So let's do the back corners first. Need screw. Need washer. Need foot. Then we need plate. That all appears to go down through. Plate goes the other way. So for those playing at home, in the bottom of the plate, there's a little triangular cutout, which then meshes with the corner just here. So that's all in place, and we need the nut, which goes just on the inside, and I need my Allen key. That's too fiddly to do blind. No, that's not engaging. Let's try something a little bit more sensible. Tweezers. There. That's not working either. Okay. Turning it up on its edge. Sorry guys, focus is going to be a bit iffy. Took the grandkids to the garden centre and picked up stuff to plant. Spring is here. We don't really have autumn like the Northern Hemisphere because we don't really have an awful lot of deciduous trees here. So that all goes on. And then that screw goes in there. That's an M38. Ah, there it is. Thanks for dropping in, Bill. Oh. Oh no, that was just snapping into place. There was a click. I thought I'd broken something, but it was just the plastic dropping into its slot. While I've got it on this edge, we'll put on a clear one. Screw, washer. Let's go back to the previous page, make sure I do it in the right order. So, screw, washer, foot, plate goes lips down, and then nut. That's all good. It didn't feel like it had quite meshed in with the triangle, so I was just checking what was going on. Aha, that's what was going on. I know what the crack was now. There's a very tiny print-in-place support on this edge, and that's what clicked when I screwed down the other one. It was just it breaking off as it went into its spot. Hi, Steve. Oh, Bill, if you're still here, say thanks to Steve Builds for me for subscribing. For anybody who's just joined, like Steve, things are a little bit out of focus and off camera because these parts are really awkward to fit. So. There we go. Other edge, that's an LED one. So screw, washer, foot, plates with the corners poking down outwards. Now we know about that print-in-place support, just peeling that off. No, that needs to go after this. Let's see if this makes life a little easier. That means you guys can't see. Let's see if that works. No, still doesn't quite work. That went easier than the others. It's better than nothing. Screw, washer, foot, plate, and nuts. Okay, so that's all in. Sorry, I went a little bit quiet there. So there. Translucent cover, 3x8. Standard, let's go back to body. That screw just went catapulting across. Ah, found it. It bounced back. Done. Last cover. Print in place tag. Gone. So, what's everybody got planned for the weekend? Anything fancy being built? Now Bill's gone. We can all not feel inadequate about what we're building. I'm probably heavily cross-threading into that brass by the sounds of things, making that awful creaking noise that they do. But it's a cover, and I don't care. Looks like the noise filter's blanking it out, so you guys aren't being deafened by it at least. So, next, let's pop that on flat. So where we're at, we've got corners on. Back corners that nobody sees are, I'm just the normal blanking at the moment. Well, they're the LED blanking. I'm going to swap them over to normal corners when I get a moment. Turtle neck is here and ready to be added. There's a little mounting bracket for that somewhere. Yeah. Now you can mount the turtleneck pretty much anywhere. What I plan to do just for now is to find one of my hammerheads and follow the instructions, see if there's anything here. Done that bit. Loading. That's not loading. Previous. Next. No, nothing's loading. Try next. Hello? Okay, I thought maybe my internet had gone out. Brent, still tinkering with my canary board. It's fine. I just want to do one more revision. Oh, that's right. You sent me your your bright yellow board the other day. It looks very, very interesting, but the color, it needs a brighter yellow because at the moment it looks like something coming out of a nappy. I'm zoomed out all the way. There's nothing on here. We need 4 of these to complete the assembly. Install the feeder onto 50mm length of 3mm ID Bowden tube. Notice it is advised that these be removed from the box turtle at any time it needs to be set on the... so it's talking about these, I'm assuming. So, PTFE tube. Yeah, you wish the yellow was brighter. Only went yellow because I wanted to call it canary. Makes sense to me. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm just checking the diameter of the tube. Big bundle is most definitely 2mm or 2.5mm ID, whereas this one is definitely 3mm. And it says we need 50mm lengths of this. I recall there being a little chopping block, yes. And my ruler. Okay, so the cutting guide that they have here even has 50 on there. I didn't even need to measure it. So let's put Boxy out of the way for a minute. Up against the stop, there's an end stop on one end. And pop. 1, 2. Where did you have the boards made up, Brent? Was it PCBWay or somewhere like that, or somewhere more local to you? 3, 4. That's those accent pieces. They are in my parts divider. I recall somebody else had the same issue I think I'm about to have, and they just got a drill bit and scoured out the inside of the bottom of the hole. My drill bits box is here. Sorry guys, talk amongst yourselves. My camera went wonky. Hello. Let's try the... There we go. And now go to upper body. Sorry about that grand tour of my ceiling. So all I'm doing is I'm just reaming out the very bottom of the hole. And sliding the cap onto the end. And because it's PTFE tube, it's really hard to grip. That's got a 3mm ID. Let's be sensible about this and go... M350. Camera's gone all BTT live stream. So what I did to make sure the cap went on more easily, the big long screw that goes in the bottom of the stealth burners, I've got a bunch of them on hand. I just simply shoved that up the middle of the PTFE to make it a bit more rigid and easy to hang on to. And that means you can pretty much just push the green cap on, or the pretty cap on the end. Yeah, that BTT live stream was a little bit odd. They were dodging some questions, they were answering others. They were making out like Vivid is imminent. Screw. I really need to get myself a nice countersink drill. It's a good thing Bill's not here. So, I'm working entirely off memory and guesswork for this, but I think this is what this page is talking about. You'll need 4 of these to complete the assembly. Install the feeder tube, 50 millimeters. Feeder tube is this. It's advised to take these off before you turn the box turtle over each time. So by the powers of deduction, that's what we're going with. 1, 2. One of the things I did while the unit was apart for doing the cable management is I bettled the mechanisms just to make sure that everything slid easily. And this one is just that little bit tighter than I'd like, but it does pop back. So leave it there, and if I have to adjust it again, I can adjust it again. So the next thing we were going to do is temporarily mount the turtleneck, which mounts to the back of the unit. So I'll turn it sideways so you guys can see a little bit better. Now I'm going to do this with parts from my stock so I don't confuse things with the build itself. Too big of a screw. That was an M310. I'm going to try an M38. Which, thinking about it with that deep insert hole, makes a lot of sense. Hammerhead. I'm basically mounting this so that it's not just flopping loose on its cable more than anything. And I'll worry about where it needs to go with the hose in a bit. So the slider always goes to the outside. Hammer has just rotated. Has it? No, that didn't rotate enough. There we go. Turn that over. Nope, still not good. Maybe I need to go in M36. Nope. It's definitely an M3 hammerhead. I am suffering a situation where a whole bunch of these got dropped and some of them didn't end up in the right divider. So if this doesn't latch this time, I will swap to a different screw length. That's better. Just a funky hammerhead. Go back in there. Right, so what we've got, turtleneck is just temporarily mounted on the back where it's not going to get crunched too easily, or at least the cable's not going to get yanked. See if this loads now. Nope, let's try a refresh. Aha, we were on the right track. So the little green heads are now on the 50 millimeters of tube. Tubes are now inserted and finished. So that's that part done. Let's go back to home. Let's see where we're at. HTLF, that's a new one. Presumably that's the protective cover, or oh no, it's the new mini one that was designed over the weekend or something. Box turtle, filler matrix, turtleneck, which we've done. That's the AT brush, which I might build with you guys in a moment. Alternatively, we've got filler matrix to build. Which one do we build, guys? You tell me. Do we build the filler matrix, or do we build the brush support? This is where I find out there's nobody left in chat and you've all left me. Filler matrix, we've got an answer. We'll go with that one. So filler matrix, I was in the middle of building a stealth changer when I realized that there was no real documentation for it and went, yeah, nah. And decided to put that on pause for a while. So I'm going to use one of the tool heads I'd got ready as the donor for the parts. That's your next job. I'll fill a matrix. What's worrying is the amount of money I've got sunk into Revos for the stealth changer. Now, some of you are going to go, wait, what? This is the LDO heatsink, because it's a lot cheaper than the E3D one, and it's the same. It's the LDO Boron. There's a Aussie supplier who has these in stock, and every time I can afford it and I've got stuff on another order, I get another one for my collection because I know I'm going to need them sooner or later. Okay, this is super shiny and looks a bit funny, mostly because it's a sample of polycarbonate I was sent that I was told really benefits from being annealed. So I annealed it, and then it went super glossy. Can you guys see this? It looks weird, and it shows every single tiny little not quite printed right spot. But I'm going to go with it because I'm told it can withstand crazy high temperatures, and it's incredibly impact resistant. Can you hear that? It's hard. It is really hard. So let's go to the filler matrix manual. Blah, 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 self-burner. Primary colors, accent colors. Filler matrix upper. I'm pretty sure I've got those parts. Yes, I do. Again, printed in that same polycarbonate sample I was sent. Hi, Bearded. Now there's one trick I know I'll get stung with if I don't do, and that's pressing in the ECAS fitting. I've learned from experience with building these, always press the ECAS in. This is for a box turtle, that's right, Beardy. So, parts box. Yeah, Bearded, we're building the filler matrix from the LDO kit for the box turtle. Now, just checking. Yes, this is the extra shallow version. There's the original version of the ECAS toolhead has a full depth with the rubbering actually on the fitting that you use, whereas this one is without the rubber version. Tweezers. And the other thing I do, Beardy, is rather than deafen people by whacking ECAS in with a big hammer, I press them in like they're a bearing. Wow, that stuff is strong. Did you guys see the flex on it? So ECAS is all in place. That's ready for the next step. Get rid of this. So a whole bunch of heat sets. Where did I put that part? It's in my hand. Now, are these just the standard heat sets? It looks like it. Yeah, it definitely is. First stream, I was whacking things with a big hammer and I went, yeah, this has got knobs on it. So I went out and I bought myself a little 75mm drill press vise. I've got a little work light next to me, but it's pretty dazzling. So I've got a little piece of cardboard over the top so it doesn't dazzle me, but you guys can still see what I'm doing. So ECAS in place, heat set insert, soldering iron is warming up. We need how many? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heat sets. And unlike the normal stealth burner, this one gets a heat set insert right up its butt. This is to just give it a bit of a better wearing surface for the knife blade. Just going to give that a moment. And then press it against here. This insert, I know from the filler metrics, the previous one that was used with the RCF, has to be flush. Otherwise, crazy things happen and you wear out the knife blade. The one up its butt is in place. Next one goes here. Now, I've just noticed that very successfully managed to fill the end of the heat set with plastic. So rather than fight with it later, I'm just going to run the M3 through it now, just to break that plastic out while it's still hot. Got it. With it being that special polycarbonate stuff, I don't want to take chances of it getting bound up anywhere. Now, I don't know if the company who sent me it wants me to talk about it on stream, so I'll keep my mouth quiet about who it's from at the moment. For those who have joined the stream after I said what's going on with my printer behind me, it's currently printing off some parts for the wiping station and poop station for the box turtle. So just having a look at this diagram. Helps if I don't try and look at it in OBS and adjust it in OBS, doesn't it? So I've got the one there in. Did I put those in the wrong way around? I did. I'm just going to have to wear that and see what happens. So what I've done is I've put them in from the face that faces the fascia. Lots of faces. So that's the front. Ideally speaking, they should have come in from the back, which is probably why the plastic wasn't quite right. But we'll go with it and see what happens. That one goes in there. I mean, the worst comes to worst, I can print another. Now this one isn't easy to adjust, so I'm just going to leave that to cool by itself for a moment. Now I've used a nozzle wiper on Scrappy for the Cross XY. I want one on all of my machines. Unfortunately, Mad Max needs a servo-driven one. For those who don't know, Steve is a bit of a mad inventor kind of guy, and he likes to build his printers from the ground up. So he has all sorts of weird and wonderful things going on with his printers, and some very bizarre names in some cases. Although having said that, his kid has one of the fastest printers you'll ever see. It was built mostly out of spare parts. Now, I got lucky with this wiper when it launched because it's only a relatively new thing on the Box Turtle GitHub. The cartographer comes with the same silicons as the A1 uses, which is what these need. So that's what I'm working with. Okay, let's make sure I get all these ones in the right way around. So flat side, there and there. Now, from memory, some of these go deeper than others. Yellow arrows must be installed below the surface. That's right. So how many more do we need? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Limited to 250 millimeters a second. I just opened the taps on this to 300, Steve. Although that I did see that discussion between you and Meryl about how the speeds are handled. It's bizarre. So that one is below the surface. The one at the bottom in the middle goes below the surface. That's in place, that's in place. Now the surface mount ones. So with those below surface heat sets, what I did was I actually pushed them to the point where the heat set tool was just melting the edges of the plastic where the heatset would normally be in, and then just used a little bit of a push to get it all the way into the deepest spot. So we've got 1, 2, 3 on this surface, they're all done. Now we have 2 on the side from memory. Yep. These are both surface mount. Ow, that's hot. Yeah, the 3D rotation is really awesome, Betty. It's just sometimes it goes wacky. Just before you got here, we were looking at another section. Ow, hot. And it just wasn't loading. I guess they could have been working on it. Right, so now we're working on the back side. Make sure I've got the right slot. Yep. Right, so 7 heat inserts are in place. The guidler. Now this is a standard Voron thing. I had a whole bunch of them here. Okay, it's not here, so let's check behind me. I know where they are, they're on my other desk. I should be back momentarily. The camera's probably going to do wacky things. Here's one I prepared earlier. Now, if this wasn't a whole bunch of 3D printer nerds who I know have already seen this sort of stuff a whole bunch of times, I would go into this more thoroughly and I wouldn't have skipped ahead. You guys have seen this before. Now it's time to solder the wires to the outer pins of the switch. Aha! Not sure if it's in here. Or if it's in here. I had some extra switches. I put them somewhere. Obviously not. That's the Molex for the AFC. Nothing in there. That's the fan that we're not using. There's my other steel rule that I lost. I thought I had some switches already prepared for this. Obviously not. There's the ball bearings we're going to need. That's weird. Okay. What are those? These are the switches I was looking for. Yep, that's the one I broke. Preparing off stream, I was going to desolder the wires off this switch I'd already used, rather than breaking into these on-runs that are brand new. And I broke the pins off. So these two are still good. That's got a long flap, that's got an extra long flap. Let's get the extra long off. The reason I'm not too worried about pulling these switches apart is that package I got from AliExpress that's behind me has about 50 of them. So I've got plenty. Now, quickly check on. I'm currently trying to repair a 50-year-old heater box and it's testing my patience. If it's a 50-year-old heater box, Brent, be very, very suspect of the insulation. It breaks down and it can become lethal. So where am I at? We need to put the wires on there and we need to wires onto the switch, and then we need to mount the switch. Soldering iron. Don't go there, go to me. Look at me. There we go. Now, in Australia, we never really had Radio Shack. We had a local knockoff called Dick Smith's. Dick Smith was a... It's unfair to call him entrepreneur now, because entrepreneur now means people like Elon Musk and yeah. But for his day, he was considered an entrepreneur, and he opened up an electronic store, kind of the equivalent of Radio Shack / Tandy's, depending on where you are in the world. He sourced these amazing soldering irons from somewhere in China, and they just go forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and they just don't die. You had Tandy's. Oh, you must be on the East Coast. Yeah, East Coast, that would make sense. They're only ever called Dick Smith in the West, as far as I know. This soldering iron is 25, maybe 30 years old, still on the original tip, and it just keeps going. Although I probably just jinxed it by telling you all you guys now. Simple plastic box with a heater core and in it a few control flaps. Whoa, those were the days. So what I need is some wire, and I also need my spool of solder. I should be back in a moment. Actually, I'll wet the sponge. Talk amongst yourself, guys. Solder. It's a bit narrow for my liking. Aha, that'll do. It's found me, it's found me, it's coming back, hopefully. This trekking is just silly today. Come back to me. There we go. Well, that's how I started with my soldering, Brent. My old man used to solder for his model trains. And his eyes weren't good enough to really do it a lot. So I ended up doing it for him a lot of the time. So what I've got, I've just been tidying up a project for a student, and there's a whole bunch of these DuPont jumper cables that I've got floating around that I stripped out of his project because I'm making him solder it properly. Little jerk thought he could get away with it because he screwed the lid on. Soldering iron is warming up. Sponge is there. Spool of solder. Now, it's one of those things where if you're one of my students watching, do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to be soldering without an air extractor right now. I'm omitting it. I do have helping hands, but you guys don't want to be staring at my ceiling again. And it says to solder the wires to the outer pins. Yet 2 outer pins. So soldering iron is up to temperature. There's a nice little temperature gauge on here saying it's at 460 degrees. Check out that. That is a soldering tip that is 35 years old, not 30 years old, and still bright. Lightly tin the tip. Tin the pin. Tin the pin. Now, if there was no risk of students watching this at some stage, I would also be adding flux. But that's definitely a no-no with no ventilation. Now, because this is just an end stop, it doesn't matter what color goes on which. 1. 2. You could smell the lead all night. In the soldering part of the engineering lab at one of the schools I work with, they use leaded solder, and I'm all for it because the lead-free solder has been destroying the tips on the soldering irons, eats them. And that's even using with expensive Payco tips. So rather than deal with that, we've gone back to leaded solder, and all the students have to wash their hands afterwards. And there's active extraction in that section of the workshop. Each soldering station has its own little extractor. So D2F micro switch, 5.5mm ball bearing, and 2 M10s, M2 by 10s. Are they self-tapping? Yes, they're self-tapping. That's the 5.5mm. I have to be careful of what I say because I have a position that's outside of the hobby that people will possibly hold it against me. But I'm kind of the opinion that unleaded versus unleaded fuel is kind of a silly thing. It's a case of, do you want to die from Alzheimer's when you're 80 or cancer when you're 70? Because that's really what it adds up to. M2 self-tappers, M2 by 10. Still rocking the 6040. What do you know? This is the Duratec solder as well. Sorry, that might have been a little bit off screen. I'm just going through my parts box and finding the 2 screws that we need. That was the bottom of that stealth burner that blew up yesterday, ADD. I just accidentally stood on it because it fallen on the floor. In the bin! So 5.5 mil goes in the hole first. Just checking by eye to make sure there's nothing in that hole that's going to cause us any issues. I just saw where I put the bearing and now I can't see where I put it. This is my medication making me hurt. There it is. Now that's sitting just a little bit proud in the hole. This might be a little tight. Some filaments. So what's going on for you watching at home? The 5.5 mil bearing is feeling just a little tight in the hole. This might be the annealing process. Oh, no, there we go. Now, you might be able to see it, you might not. The bearing sits off to one side to match the offset of the switch plunger. So I'm just making sure that I do put the switch plunger in the right way around. Hopefully that CPAP wasn't too loud for you guys. The print's just finished. I'm standing here debating to myself. This feels too tight. The bearing was already feeling a bit tight. Now the switch is feeling a bit tight. Do I write this off and print a new part? I think writing it off and printing a new part would be the discretion being the better part of valor kind of situation. Oh, I see what's going on. Scalpel time. I can see what's binding the switch up. It's just a little bit of bridging action not quite being as good as it could have been. If you haven't bought yourself surgical scalpels, they're cheap on AliExpress and they make life so much simpler. But watch your fingers, because they're literally just designed to cut them off. But what they do is make short work of the plastic when there's a little bit of a drop from bridging. Just checking I haven't damaged the switch mechanism. That's fitting much nicer. Might need a bit more of a press. Trying to find something that's going to press the switch into place nicely without damaging anything. I've been using a pair of tweezers with the pincers open. Oh, there we go. That just popped in. I'm pretty sure I can see though. Get screw holes line up. 1, 2. Now this would probably be an adequate friction fit, but with this being a switch and it being all important. Don't be dumb, Phil. Don't use the ball head on such a tiny screw. And using my fingernail to make sure that's flush. Another quarter turn probably. What are you sorry about, ADD? Yep, they're both flush. Now I'm going to leave the DuPonts on here for now because it stops me snagging end of the wire into my fingers. Let's have a look what came out of this. Still slightly under extruding on the plate side, but it's sticking. And the skirt isn't, so I must be doing something right. Oh, there's a few little artifacts on the back here which might interfere, so that's probably going to need a file. Just so you can see what I'm talking about. Just that little bit of under extrusion on the bottom layer. It's the same here. But the fact it's sticking so well means that the first layer height is actually correct. Making you break your own stealth burner. Nah, that was my own stupidity. I should have examined the model more accurately. I got slack, to be honest. Steve and I are seeing so many sliced models go through at the moment that I should have paid more attention. So, double check the fit. It's going to need a little bit of a polish up, I think, just to make it super smooth. But that fits. That goes on there. That then screws to that, and then that mounts onto the underside of the rail. Now, I'm just going to show you the original parts because we both had the same problems with this part. This is the original supplied on the Box Turtle GitHub, and that rib there, the spline or whatever you want to call it, that meshes in with the extrusion, it's too big. It's just too damn big, and it means that you can't get it onto T-slot. V-slot, it's all right. It fits fine onto my ender because that's a V-slot. If it's a T-slot extrusion you've got, it doesn't fit. I know ADD had to file his pretty much all the way off. What I did in lieu of that is I modified the part, so it's got a little bit of a raised. This is the original, and this is my added little dimples, which are basically a mirror of it, to allow a good purchase in both dimensions. So let's go back to building this stealth burner. Now we need some bearings and screws. That stuff is all over there. Brent, without getting into specifics, what age are you teaching Fusion? Anything from 11 turning 12 through to 17 turning 18. And is it a standard part of the curriculum? There's one CAD course, which is year 8, which is like 12 turning 13, where they actually do CAD, and from that point upwards, they can do just a CAD as an elective. But all of the design classes, so woodworking, metalworking, and engineering, they all need to be able to use Fusion to some extent to be able to render parts for their design projects. So especially with the engineering where there's a lot of 3D printing involved, having them do it in Fusion is easy, but some of the kids, their brains just aren't wired for it, and I know mine's not. I don't like Fusion. It's not wired for the way my brain works, but I have to soldier through because that's what the schools picked to use. Watching kids struggle and struggle and struggle, and knowing that another package, any other package would probably be fine for them, it's just painful to watch. And sometimes, just to prove a point at the end of term, if there's a kid who's really, really struggled and done their level best, if they're still struggling with a week or two to go to get their final projects done, I'll say to them, here's a bunch of options, go do it if you really need to. I mean, I have some year 7 classes, which is the, what's going on here? Something weird going on, that's better. I have some year 7 classes where we use Tinkercad, and some of the electronics classes we use Tinkercad to teach the basic concepts and to get the circuits all nutted out, because it's got a really awesome electronics package built in straight into Tinkercad. You can control servos. You can you have an Arduino. I think it's the old school original Arduino Uno. You can actually model what the Uno can do in the software to a very large extent, and you can control servos, you can control motors, you can turn LEDs on and off, and you can do basic logic programming just like it's in the IDE. So before you let kids loose with an Arduino that they can actually break, we can do all the modeling in the Tinkercad software, even to the point where it's got wires in jumpers in breadboards, and we can then transfer that over to a physical unit once they've got everything working in the software. It's been a game changer in terms of equipment loss. However, if it was me right about now, I would be kind of encouraging equipment loss to an extent, because I would like to desperately move everybody across to Raspberry Pi Pico. It uses the same IDE. It's got a lot of the same functionality, but it gives us access to Wi-Fi, it gives us access to Bluetooth. They're much smaller, they're much, much cheaper to buy for a school. An Arduino Uno is costing about 35 bucks because we have to buy it from a legitimate source. And you can buy a Raspberry Pi Pico off the shelf from JCal, which is perfectly fine from a school sourcing point of view, for about 9 bucks. It's a no-brainer to swap them over, but it's just a case of using up the gear we've got until it's all gone at the moment, I think. So let's get back to this. Not quite sure why I'm on that one or that one. That's the one we want. Picos are fantastic. The Pico dev line that Core Electronics does is great for education. The problem with a lot of the education stuff is the markup. As a teacher, you sit there, who's also a hobbyist, you sit there going, okay, 10 bucks for the board, and they want 50 bucks for a power supply because it's education? Nah. That's the sort of stuff that you see all the time. The moment it's like a wedding. The moment a wedding's involved, the price goes up. Could be exactly the same thing on exactly the same rack 2 shops over. But because there's a wedding attached to it, they instantly put it up. I've just realized I don't have my bearings and stuff here. I'll be back in a moment. Let's put you on this, see if it'll work. No, it doesn't work. There, have a look at my printer. Now, I don't buy a lot of Physec gear because a lot of it's not particularly good. One thing I have found is it appears to be that they're buying the exact same gear from exactly the same factory that Bontech gets a lot of their gear made in, because this is so damn near perfectly concentric. It's amazing. Is that the right size bearing? Yes, that's the right size bearing. Also the right size bearing. Sorry, I know I went quiet on you for a moment. I was just concentrating while I felt the bearing in place. No more chats going on there, so press the bearings into their respective slots. Sorry, just grabbing my parallel jaw pliers. I'm just evaluating it to make sure the bearing is square. I don't feel that it quite is square. So what I'm going to do is put this in from the back. That's squarer than I thought. This one just presses in. Gah. So what I'm doing is I'm just manipulating the bearing a little bit in each direction, orientation and direction, but also keeping an eye to where the filament slot is so I don't press it in too far. And I'm happy with that, I think. And the interference fit on the this shaft compared to the bearing is really, really close. M3x6 flathead. M3x6 flathead. That's all done because that's a concentric M3x25. Now, one of the things I am contemplating, if this all calibrates up nicely and is working, I'm actually thinking about swapping over to a Dragon Burner toolhead. And there's a cutter mod for those now. And I've got an APUS 2, which also has a toolhead sensor in it. So that would actually cover all the bases that's being done with filler matrix. But I'm building it as per the kit within reason. Now, some of these tolerances are perfect, like for the bearings, but not so good for these screws. So I'm assuming these screws are supposed to be like this, because if the bearing fitted so nicely, there's no reason this shouldn't, because it's the same inside kind of hole. There are a couple of new tool heads being developed specifically for MMUs coming. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that A4T is getting a mod. I'm pretty sure I've seen Zol's already got a mod, or XOL, whatever you want to call it. I'm kind of viewing this as the whole thing that's going on at the moment as like TV. For decades and decades and decades, it was black and white, and then all of a sudden color hit, and it's just took over within 2 or 3 years. Jabberwocky. I think the silly name puts me off. What time is it? Got about 15 minutes left on the stream. So, with that in mind, and with what I was saying earlier about my daughter having the school holidays starting next week, would you guys prefer that I start at the normal time and just finish sooner? Is that what you guys would like to see? I think that's probably going to be the fairest, especially for the US viewers, because that way they can still get to bed at a reasonable time. Whereas if I start late and finish at the normal time, that's less friendly to them. So we've got the two halves together. And yeah, it looks like we just screw it all together. Butterfingers. Start normal time works for you. We are one of the most consistent viewers, ADD, so what you're saying is what I'm going to go with, I think. little plastic plug in that hole. You know what? Let's put that on pause. You've all seen the top of a stealth burner put together a whole bunch of times. Have some Skittles. No, thank you. Okay, let's put together the bottom half because this is a bit different and we haven't seen so much of this. Heat set iron back on. We need 5M3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're too kind, though. They'd never change their streams to be kind to our time zone. Well, out of the people who are here, ADD's Aussie, Steve's Aussie, Brent, you're US though. There's a couple of Aussies that cruise through early, so it is largely Aussies anyway. So from memory, yep, that goes in the middle. Again, just like the upper half, there's a brass insert here. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. That's my soldering iron. It's the heat set press I want. Oh, Brent's Melbourne. School holidays are likely to be manic for you. Yeah, they're going to be crazy here. So dropping back to the 1 hour is probably going to be good for all of us. If Steve can get here, he can get here. If he can't, he can't. And it means my daughter won't be on her own so much. One. I mean, what I might do is actually set it up behind my monitors that I'm looking at you guys on and checking OBS, etc. on. I've got a TV, and I could just set her up there with Paw Patrol or similar, and she would almost certainly be more than happy. Now, there's 2 heatset insert points here that are used for mounting the accelerometer. I have no need for them, so I'm going to leave them out because every gram counts. Chasing a couple of grams here and a couple of grams there will add up. Just making sure that still presses together. Yes, it does. So, install the Bowden tube that is appropriate length for your chosen hot end. Cutting jigs for various are found here. For Revo Boron, it's 15.8 millimeters. Now, I have learned the hard way that you should always use Capricorn tube with this part. And over time, I've got pretty damn good at get her helping. That I'll have to talk to my wife about. I'm not sure that she's going to be comfortable with my daughter being on the stream. So I'll talk to her before I do anything like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this as close to 15.8 millimeters as I can do by eye. Is that slightly off camera? No, it's still on, just. I can send you Sammy, he'd love it. I am not doing your babysitting for you. No way. I can see that trap a mile coming. I'm a teacher. What happened to that drill I was using earlier? There. Just reaming out the very end of the PTFE. Just making 100% sure there's no swarf from reaming it out. Where did I put that bit of filament? Yeah, there it is. Now, why do I always use Capricorn with the Revo? The little bulb that comes on the end of the filament when you do a retract, if you can do it fast enough, the Capricorn, because it's ever so slightly thinner on the interior, it helps shape that, and it's also a little bit more heat resistant. So what that means is that the tip is more controlled in the shape and size. That is good enough for me. Let's get the calipers, see how close I was with my eyes. A little too long. 17 it says here. Yeah, it's probably a fair. That's the flat side, that's the rim side. The other good thing about Capricorn is you've not got much fear of. Okay, bragging rights time. 15.8, exactly what's asked for. Okay, strongly recommended, blah, 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 facing extruder forehead. There are many methods for common methods. 6mm drill, spinning a hobby, blah, 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 blah. So beveled end in, and something to press against it, so I'm not just using my thumb. The ruler will do. Let's put those heat sets back there. I'm just keen not to damage the end of the PTFE if I can avoid it. Revo heatsink. Oh, can just feel it sit down nice at the bottom. Now, just refresh myself against the standard one. Yep. Actually, for those Aussies in the house, check this out. This is the SID ABS-GF. See how nice that comes out. 5 minutes to go. So let's mount this up. I took the screws out. Where did I put them? Not there. There's one. There was a guy asking for help. I can't remember where it was. It might have been on Big Tree Tech, saying that he couldn't get the screws to hold his Revo heatsink in. And we were like, okay, which Revo heatsink? He's like, the Revo heatsink, the Revo heatsink, over and over and over and over. That's not gripping. These screws need to be longer. He kept saying that, yeah, the Revo heatsink over and over and over and over. Turned out he was trying to use 2.5mm screws, not M3s. There we go. So that's why it wasn't meshing. He was so used to things like the Dragon, which have the 2.5 mil. And tight. Now I really do like ThunderKey's take on the way this is done. By having such a big, fat, beefy support for the heatsink, it makes it super duper tight. Now, I do need to check this in a moment. I think this is a 40-watt heater core. And I have a 60-watt sitting in my drawer here. So I'm going to swap this over to the high flow heater core. Yeah, that screw's not going in. It looks like it should, but it's not. That one went straight in. Ah, that's what's going on. That's going to need a 6mm drill bit. There we go. By fluke. For those who don't know, the nominal head size is 6mm for an M3 screw. Still not seating nicely. I can see at the top of the Revo heatsink. There we go. And tight. So, heatsink in place. Now, easy way to tell if we've got a 40-watt or a 60-watt. Anybody know what? Anybody good at Ohm's law for me off the top of their heads? 200K. Actually, it's the heater we want, not the thermistor. These probes are too big. I might have to do this off screen. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to probe the heater and see what resistance it comes back with, and then run it through Ohm's law to get my... Hi, Steve. You're just about to miss us. We've been going for 2 hours, and that's normally my stream length. Where did we get to? So what we've done is we've got Box Turtle all but built. I've got a couple of cables to plug back in. And I've got a couple of trim pieces to reprint. We've got filler matrix half built. I'm still not sure I'm going to keep the upper half as is. I might reprint it. The tolerances are just a bit too tight and I'm a bit uncomfortable with it. Got distracted and meant to watch from the beginning. Next week, seeing as you just got here, Steve, next week, we got school holidays sprung on us by the school as starting a week earlier than everybody expected. And it wasn't just me, it was a whole bunch of parents all groaning at once when the teacher told us. So next week, rather than being a 2-hour stream like normal, it's probably only going to be a 1-hour stream. Because that way my daughter hopefully won't be able to get into too much trouble. And what I was just doing was trying to measure the resistance across the heater core of that Revo to find out if it's a 40 or a 60 watt heater, so that I can swap it out if it's only a 40. Is that just my school? As far as I'm aware, it's all cath-ed schools, Steve. This is Aussie Steve, not Steve Builds I'm talking to right now. So you'll have to check with your school and find out. My high school finishes on the Thursday, but I don't normally work Thursdays anyway because of other commitments, including the stream. So, right, I need to figure out the heater core, need to reprint this. We've got all of this printed up and ready to be mounted next time. And what I'm going to do, hopefully, is get those end stop switches fixed on my printer this afternoon so that I can actually do proper homing. Because, yeah, ghetto homing by parking it in the corner and just doing the store sense there and then in the corner is a bit unsafe. While you're here, Steve Builds, if you're still here, is there meant to be a front grille for your side or your 45-degree entry backplate? I couldn't find one. Or does it use somebody else's and this is a remix that you've done to match it? While you're waiting for that YouTube lag, I'll put a couple of things away. Now, yes, it's a reference grille from the Trident V2 files. Okay, I'll have another look. I obviously missed it. So next week, starting at the normal time, which is 10 a.m. Western Australia, the template I post up has all the various international times, including East Coast, West Coast, US, and UK times. Next time you come, bring a friend. It would be very much appreciated, and any subscriptions and likes and stuff would also be very much appreciated. Next week, hopefully, we will get Filomatrix fully assembled. We will move on to doing the firmware, and it's probably going to be either 2 or 3 weeks of the 1-hour streams while my daughter's home. We'll see how she goes first week. If she's good, we might be able to go back to the 2-hour regular schedule. And once school holidays are back, hopefully we'll knock it on the head. After that, my intention is to start looking at doing a Dragon Burner with the cutter as a replacement for Stealth Burner. It's good, it's just big and bulky, and I'm not getting the speeds that my machine is most definitely going to be capable of with all this beta gear I've been sent. I've got a Fatus D2F Rapido that's just been delivered, and I want to put that into it to go as fast as I can. That should give me about 36 millimeters cubed per second, which will only just outrun the kinematics that I'm currently working with on the printer, rather than having to limit my movement by my flow at this point. So I will see you all next week, hopefully. And with that, I'm about to hop out of here. Thanks for your time, guys.